Hi everyone, it's me Darlene. I am going to work a little bit more on my Wonky 9-patch quilt. If you want to get caught up with this series, I will have a playlist link down below in the description box, in the comments, and you'll also see it on the end screen at the end of this video. The last time we finished the quilt top. This is a small quilt. It's about a yard square. I have decided I'm going to try something that I think will be easy. I was initially telling you guys that I would probably do a rag edge, meaning I would snip the edges, wash it, let it fray. I have changed my mind. I'm going to do almost like a duvet cover. We're going to be putting the layers together, sewing around, leaving a hole, turning the whole thing right side out, and the batting will be attached to all the edges, and then I will just sew up the opening, and then we'll do the quilting, and then we'll be done. So let's cut the pieces that we need. We need batting, and I'm going to cut it a little bit bigger than this. That way it will allow for shifting when we're sewing. And then I'm going to cut the backing, and again I will cut it a little bit bigger than this. That way we're sure we're catching all the fabric as we sew. Then we can trim after if we want to. We don't necessarily need to. I'll show you what I mean when we get there. So I'm just going to measure this again, refresh my memory. This is like 35 wide, and that will probably vary. That was like maybe 35 1/4. Let's turn it this way now and see. A little bit smaller this way, 34, 34. So it looks like the biggest is like a little over 35. I'm going to go ahead and cut 37 inches square. I am using this cheapy polyester batting for several reasons. One, it's cheap. Only $1.49 per yard, and it's pretty wide. Can't remember how wide it is when I get it. This is a leftover piece, but you get a lot of batting for $1.49 per yard. Cotton batting is obviously the nicest feeling quilt. It's, heavy, and it just feels good, and it quilts nice, but it's expensive. I believe at Martin's, which is about the cheapest around, I think it's $7 per yard for the cotton batting. So I'm going with the polyester. The other thing is, since this is so lightweight, it can cut down on the shipping charges. If I put things on eBay, I'm always concerned about shipping charges. So this is lighter. It might not make much of a difference, but if you're talking like a full-size quilt, that would be way heavier if it's 100% cotton batting. The other thing is this is so easy to throw in the washing machine. You wash, you dry, it comes out light and fluffy. Very, very good stuff. Cotton batting, I don't know. I've never had a quilt with cotton batting. I don't know if they're supposed to be dry cleaned. I don't know if you can throw it in the washing machine. I'm sure you can. The batting, I'm sure, would shrink up a little bit. But anyway, for all those reasons, I'm using polyester. So let's see how I want to do this. I want to cut, I said like 37 inches. So I'm just going to fold this up, and I'm just going to even off one end. And I'm not even going to do that with a rotary cutter because that's pretty thick. I'm just using the edge of my mat as a guide. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be bigger than we need anyway. So I just hold it down. I'm just going to cut across. I save stuff like this because hoarder. Now I'm turning it over. I'm going to put this on my straight edge that I just cut. And I'm going to go to, 37 is like right there. Let's scoot it over a little bit more. Good, good. Now I'm just going to cut here. Saving. I wouldn't want anybody to throw that away. Don't let me catch you throwing something big like this away. Okay, so we know we have like 37 at least in this direction. So now I'm going to unfold it and fold it in the other direction and do the same thing. That edge is pretty darned even, so I'm not even touching it. Let's go this way, and I'm going to measure 37. Right about there would be good. So I'm just going to cut across here. see how easy that was? So we should have at least 37 inches square, and that should be way big enough for what we're doing. I'm going to put this aside now, and I'm going to press my backing fabric, and then I'll be right back. Actually, I'm going to just cut what I need, and then I'll press just that piece. Let's see how wide this is. And yes, I'm going with this homespun. This is going to be the backing of the quilt. Doesn't need to match the front perfectly. I'm using what I have on hand. This came from my aunt's stash. It's about the only fabric that I thought would work well for the back of what I did for the Wonky quilt top. So we're going with it. So I need, what did I say? Like 37 inches square. Let's do the same kind of thing. This is folded. It's like 40-something inches. I'm going to fold it like this, just so I have less to cut. And I'm going to just even up this edge. Now I'm going to flip that. And same thing, I'm going to measure out approximately 37 inches. That'll be to like right there. I'm going to cut there. Now we want to do the same in the other direction. So I'm going to open this up. And now we're already folded in half this way. So what's half of 37 inches? Half of 36 would be 18. So we want 18 and a half would be 37. Is that right? Yes, 18 and a half. That's about 18 and a half right there. A little bit bigger is better. Bigger is better because that can be trimmed off. So now I have what is approximately a 37-inch square. And this I will press. Now we're going to make a very unusual looking sandwich. Usually a sandwich is the backing, then the batting, then the quilt top. We're doing something completely different. We are starting the bottom of our sandwich with the batting. The next layer is our backing. And you want the right side up. This is the same on both sides, so it doesn't matter. But if you had a fabric that had a right side and a wrong side, see, wrong side, right side, you would want the right side facing up. Kind of line that up a little bit with the batting. That's all good. Now you want your quilt top right side down. When you lay your quilt top down, you want to make sure that you have fabric and batting sticking out all around it. I look all good there. Let me slide this here. I can see all the way around that I have backing and batting sticking out. Just make sure it's nice and flat. And we are going to do some pinning. I'm just going to put some pins, maybe every 5 inches or so, all the way around. I don't know if you can see me pinning. Trust me when I say I'm pinning. I'm just putting the pins on the edge where that border is. And on this last edge, I want to remember that I want to leave a space. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the space like this entire width of this center block. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 2 pins together here. That's to remind me that I'm starting here, and when I come around, I'm stopping here. 2 pins. I just made up that method of marking. Hold down the applause. And then I'm just going to continue putting a couple of pins. Okay, we're all pinned up. I'm not big on pinning, but there are times that it is really helpful. That's when I use pins. Now, I am going to go to the machine. I am going to start where my 2 pins are. I will backstitch just to lock that in. I'm going to sew about 1/4 inch all the way around, and I will stop when I get to these 2 pins. I've had to change my setup because I need room on my sewing machine for this quilt, and that's usually where my camera is. And normally I put a table behind me, a card table behind me to hold the quilt, and I forgot to do that. And now I'm trapped by my new setup, so I can't just easily get up and move. So I am going to just go ahead and sew without a table behind me. It's a small quilt, so I'll be fine. I am just going to start sewing where my 2 pins are. Already stuck myself. That's why I hate pins. Now I know I could use the safety pins. I haven't invested in those yet. I have regular safety pins, but quilter safety pins like have a curve so they're easier. Whatever, one of these days, I'm just going to move these 2 pins out, and I'm going to do a little bit bigger than 1/4 of an inch, maybe more like 1/2 inch. And I'm going to make the opening a little bit wider than I was going to. So I'm going to start at the end of this sashing and go all the way around. Where's my pedal? So I'm just going ahead a little bit, then I'm going to back up just to lock in the stitches, and now I'm going to go around. See, and this is where a table would come in handy because this whole quilt wants to just fall off the back. At the corner, I'm just going to lift and pivot without stabbing myself on pins. If you have a walking foot, it's a good time to use it. I do have a walking foot, and I will be using it. But right now, I just wanted to do something that anybody could do on any machine with any foot. Okay, I'm at my double pins, but I'm going to stop up here. I was going to stop on this side of the sashing, but I want that opening a little wider. So I'm going to back stitch. Like that. And you can see I was able to sew with my batting underneath. I had no problems with that at all. So now we have this unusual sandwich that we need to turn. Normally I would suggest that we go around and trim all the excess up to like where the top of the quilt is, but I'm going to try turning it like this. Just curious to see what that would do. It might make for a very nice thick edge. Okay, it's been a while since I've done this, and I did it the wrong way. I didn't sew it the wrong way. I turned it the wrong way. You want to make sure, where's the opening? When you grab it to turn it, you want to make sure your hand is between the 2 fabrics. I stuck my hand under here and just turned it, and I still had the batting on the outside. So, dumb, I know. So, you want to grab between the 2 fabrics and turn it. Push out your corners. And like I said, we have a lot of excess fabric there, but I think with that extra fabric, when I go around and stitch in the ditch to hold it, I think it's going to feel good to have that extra in there. So how cool if we don't even have to trim. I like less steps, don't you? Who cares if they're right or wrong, as long as they're easy. Lovely. Do friggin' love. I know you can't really see it, but this is what we have so far. Look at the edge. Look at how nice that's finished. We're going to be done. This is self-binding this way. But all we're going to do right now is we're going to close up this gap. And you can see that we have all this excess. That's okay. I will show you with the other camera how we do that. I had to get up and answer the phone, so I had to rearrange my setup. And I did go ahead and get my card table. Let's see. Behind me, it's a little bit lower than my sewing machine, but it still holds the quilt up. You can totally do this method with a gigantic quilt. As long as you have the room like on the floor to make a sandwich, you can do it. I love that it's self-binding. All finished. And see where we put the sashing, it made it look like a border. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just try to pull this corner out just a tiny little bit more. Pretty good. We're going to close up this opening. Now you can see that when you tug on this a little bit, it kind of naturally just wants to curl in. And we're just going to let it do that. And we're going to stitch down, and we're going to go ahead and do that all around the whole blanket. So it will just look like it's sewn like the rest. You know what I mean? So you can see all that is folded in. That's good. That's what we want. So I am starting above where that opening is. I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to go forward a couple stitches, back a couple stitches, and forward. Now I'm just sewing right at the edge. And I'm just going to even that out. rearrange, make sure everything looks good. It looks good. We're almost done closing it. I'm just going to continue and go all the way around. And we are coming up to where we started. I'm just going to pass that point and then do my little back stitch. And we are done this step. All right, folks, I'm actually going to stop here for tonight. I was going to do the quilting, but I've worked enough. I'm hot already, hot alert, and I have other things I have to do. So I'm going to do one more video. I'm not going to be doing fancy, like free motion quilting. I'm just going to finish this up quick and easy, but we do want to attach all the layers. So that will be next, and it'll give me one more night to think about what I really want to do. I have a good idea, but we'll see. So this is it for tonight. You can see, look at the back. Just came out so nice. This is a really good way to finish something, if it's small especially. And even if it's big, I mean, it's just nice. No binding, no snipping for ragging, no nothing. We just made a duvet, pretty much, and with the batting inside. So, that is it for now. I will be back. It will be just one more video, and this series will be done. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! I will try to wrap this series up tomorrow. If not, then at least the day after, but I'm thinking I'll be doing this tomorrow. I just love how this is turning out, and it is so incredibly easy. Do love!